All right, we're going to move into chapter 11, and chapter 11 is all about probability. So I'm going to try to do 3 sections all in one video. We'll see if we can get it done or not. I'm hoping you've done probability before. If not, you'll probably want to read a little bit more about it, or if you need me to explain more, please just let me know. But we're going to do 11.1, 11.2, and 11.4, which are probability and odds, and then tree diagrams. You will need to know for quizzes and tests about a deck of cards. So if you're not familiar with a deck of cards, look on page 640. It has them all listed out. So you can obviously use that when you take your quiz, but for your test, you'll need to know what the different types of cards are and how many there are and that sort of thing. All right, so first of all, for 11.1 is probability. And I'm just going to write it as simply as I can. It's going to be your number of successes, so how many things you want to happen, out of your total number of possibilities. We are going to write these as simplified fractions. So that's a little bit weird. Usually when we do probability, we use percents, but our book wants to use simplified fractions, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so just a really quick example. If you roll a die, and I want the probability of a 4 or 5. Well, 4 or 5 would be 2 out of 6 total possibilities, so my probability of rolling a 4 or a 5 is 1/3. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for a probability. I'm going to go through page 644. We're going to look at number 59 through 66. Okay, this is a little bit better example than what the book did. So obviously, hopefully you have your book, but there's this big chart that lists it out, and we're going to select one person and find the probability of a certain thing. So the first thing is that we want the probability that this person is going to drive a car. So when you look, you can see there are 85 cars out of 200 total possible people. So 85 out of 200, and then you need to simplify that to 17 out of 40. So hopefully you remember how to change your decimals back into fractions on your calculator. 17 out of 40 would be your answer for part A. Part B wants the probability that it is an SUV. SUV, there are 45 out of 20. So then when you simplify that, you get 9 out of 40. Part C, probability that it's not a car. Now there's 2 ways to do this. When you look at not a car, that means you want a truck or an SUV. So you can do 70 plus 45 and take that out of 200. What I'm going to do is something called the complement. So if you notice, part A wants a car, part C wants not a car. Well, that means they need to add to 100%. So what I'm going to look at is 40 minus 17 would give me 23 out of 40. And that's your answer just like that. You don't even have to think of out of 200 or anything like that. Okay, car and not a car need to add to 100%, which basically, again, means your top 2 numbers need to add to 40. So you get 1 or 100%. Okay, that's what's called the complement. Again, you don't have to do that, but most people find that to be the quickest way to do it. Part D then wants not an SUV. So same thing. Part B wanted an SUV, 9 out of 40, so that means 31 out of 40 is your probability that it's not an SUV. Part E wants the probability that it's General Motors. So again, you're just going to look at the chart. General Motors has 123 out of 200, and that can't be simplified, so that one's done. F. Oh, what am I doing? This is not A, B, C, D, E, F. Oh, wow. Sorry. Hopefully you're all right. 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. So 64 says probability of a Toyota. So again, going to look at the chart. Toyota has 77 out of 200. Or again, those two need to add to 200 because there's only GM and Toyota. So you can do whichever way you want to do that. 65 wants a car that is a GM. All right, so now we're getting a little bit trickier. It has to just be a car that's manufactured by GM. So that's 55 of them out of 200, which gives us 11 out of 40. And then our last one is SUV, that's General Motors. And that one is 28 out of 200, which is 7 out of 50. All right, so that's what 11.1 is, just about probability. So if you want some practice for those, you're going to want to do page 643, number 9. That's the one about the cards. No. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. 25 through 38. So unfortunately, I have to give you some even ones here. So if you want the answers for those, let me know. But if you're not sure about cards, you definitely want to look at 25 through 38 to make sure you understand how the cards work. Okay. Going along with probability is odds. So probability is the numbers of successes out of the total number. Odds is your number of success. Sorry, there's two different odds. We have odds in favor of whatever we want. And that's number of successes. Instead of the total, though, this is number of failures on the bottom. So your top and bottom need to add to the total number of possible outcomes. Okay, so that's odds in favor, and then there's also odds against. And that's just the reciprocal. So number of failures on the top, because you don't want it to happen actually, and then number of successes on the bottom. So for this one, we're going to write as a ratio. So if we take that same example that we did with the die, first thing, if we want odds in favor of a 4 or 5. Remember, there are 2, and then what you don't want is 4. So that would change to 1/2. 1 to 2 is how you say it. You say 1 to 2, not 1/2. Okay, so that actually looks way better. Whenever you play the lottery or any sort of gambling, they give you the odds because odds looks better than probability. The probability of this happening was 1/3. The odds is technically 1/2 or 1 to 2. So odds usually look better. So that's odds in favor. If I wanted odds against, 4 or 5, then it's just flipped. There's 4 that we don't want and 2 that we do want. So 2 to 1. Okay, so that's how you write out the odds. So we're going to look at page 650, number 10. Now this one does go A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. Okay, so they have these money. There are 6 1s, 2 5s, 3 10s, and 1 20. We're going to pick 1. First of all, we want the probability of a 5. Okay, there are 2 5s out of 12 total bills. So your probability is 1/6. For part B, they want probability of not a 5. Well, if there's 2 of them that are 5s, that means there are 10 of them that aren't. So 10 out of 12, which is 5 out of 6. Part C, they want odds in favor of a 5. All right, so there is 2 5s and then 10 that are not. So again, it's not out of 12, it's out of how many are left. Okay, 2 of them are 5s, 10 of them are not. So 2 to 10, which changes to 1 to 5. Okay, now the other thing that would have been easier, since they already asked for part A for the probability, 1 to 6, that means this has to be 1 to 5 because it has to add to 6, remember. 2 plus 10 has to give you your 12, or in this case, 1 plus 5 has to give you your 6, whichever way you want to look at it. For part D, they want odds against A5. So that's just flipped. 10 that aren't, 2 that are, so 5 to 1. The other one we're going to look at is page 651, number 36. It tells us that the odds in favor of him selling the motorcycle, I think it is, are 3 to 10. So that's the odds. Part A wants the probability that he will sell. Okay, so in favor means 3 that he will do it and 10 that he won't. Will and won't. But probability then would be 3 out of the total, which is 13. Part B, probability that he won't sell, will, won't, 10 out of 13. So if they give you the odds, you just need to add them together to get your denominator. Okay, I think I'm going to stop so I don't run out while I try to do the tree diagram. If you want some practice on this is 11.2, and if I can find it, page 650, number 9, 23, 25 through 30, 35, and 37.